Thank you, Ivy. Thank you, Ken. Now we will turn to Reverend Jenn for our sermon, Loving the Web.
The gecko learned a valuable lesson in our story. As our seventh principle reminds us, he learned the value of the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. He learned that without the other animals carrying out their part, living their lives as part of the web, he couldn't survive either. We know that it's the danger we are facing these days as climate change has become an emergency with disappearing glaciers, California alternating between drought and flood, and unprecedented extreme weather events across the globe. And I could spend the next 10 minutes telling you about the facts of the crisis we face, but you can Google them with ease. And as Ivy pointed out, there are groups doing the work, groups offering us reasons to be hopeful, like the Unitarian Universalist Ministry for the Earth and 350.org. In her reflection, Ivy shared where she found hope in the book, All We Can Save, Truth, Courage, and Solutions for the Climate Crisis. And there is so much work to do. There are so many ways in which we can do it that I can't cover it all today. So what I want to do is remind you of the ways we can connect with the web, ways we can reconnect with a love for this planet, and ways we can find the energy needed to respond to this crisis. In his poem, Gratitude, Reverend Max Kapp says, "Often I have felt that I must praise my world for what my eyes have seen these many years and what my heart has loved. And often I have tried to start my lines. Dear Earth, I say. And then I pause to look once more. Soon I am bemused and far away in wonder, so I never get beyond. Dear Earth." I think that was what the tiger was experiencing when he climbed up to talk to the rain. But that poem also makes me think of one afternoon when I was living and working in California. And I had planned an entire day around this moment. But then when I arrived, I stood transfixed, watching as water cascaded down falls that stretched about 6 feet above me. The waterfall was deep in the woods on a nearly unmarked path. And every summer when the rain stopped, the water slowed and the falls disappeared. But this day was just in the middle of the California spring, and this small hidden waterfall was green. The trees arched over the water as if they were eager, too, to be close to the source of life. I sat down and watched the water for what must have been hours. I was lost in a sense that I was in a place that was unspeakably magnificent. Almost all of us have had a moment where we are so filled with wonder that we can't even find words to describe it. We need that. We need to seek out the deep beauty of the world around us. For it is in those moments of wonder and gratitude that we feel deep in our bones the old stories from our Jewish and Christian heritage that tell us humans were created in the image of a creator. We have spent thousands of years of co-creating with life around us. We've harnessed fire, we've learned to plant and cultivate crops. And it's only been in the last few generations that so many of us have been able to separate ourselves from co-creating life with the planet we live on. As I look back in my family tree, I see that I come from Kansas farmers. Many of you have farmers in your history too. And some of you are farmers or gardeners yourselves. Farmers and gardeners know the rhythms of the earth. They understand how too much rain or too little would affect the food they were producing. In the past, even if a person wasn't directly involved in farming in that time, they knew that certain foods were available in certain seasons. And they knew that the quality of land and water around them were directly tied to their own well-being. How might we cultivate such understanding today, when unless we directly seek the information, we are largely unaware of the challenges facing those who help to produce our food? When the pandemic started, Virginia and I were still living in Jackson, Michigan. And like many others looking for ways to spend the days of stay-at-home orders, we pulled out gardening supplies. We had previously kept a little garden when we lived in Indiana, but hadn't intended to have one at our second floor apartment in Michigan. So we put our supplies in storage for that year. But like some of you, we found that when things felt uncertain around us, we reached out to the earth. It wasn't about growing everything we needed. We couldn't possibly do that. But it gave us comfort to think we might be able to spend some of our time in co-creation, even if it was just a very small container garden of a few flowers and a few vegetables. In the midst of fear and death, we wanted to nurture life. On a soul deep level, I believe each of us knows that we still rely on the earth just as much as when we all grew or foraged for our own food for our families. And yet, even now, we can go to the store and pick up lemons that grow nowhere around here. We can buy beef even if we don't have cows or our kids don't know where hamburgers come from. We can get bread without growing or grinding wheat. Our planet is so interdependent and so reliant upon the web that connects each of us to one another that we don't have to grow our own food or create our own everyday objects. More than any other time in our recent history, the pandemic reminded us how fragile the web can be when we can't find such basic necessities as flour, toilet paper, or even cleaning supplies. Paradoxically, it is this very worldwide interconnection that can make it so hard to feel connected to the earth and to our call of stewardship and care. But more than that, to our love of this planet on which we co-create life. Responding to the climate emergency will require some sacrifice. We won't be able to do everything the way it was done before. It is a sacrifice that will not come from fear or as a response to statistics. We've been talking about this since I was a child. But it's clear to me that we need more than talk to change the way we relate to these issues. I think it's going to require digging our hands into the earth and remembering our part in co-creating life. My beloved spiritual companions, find a way to connect more deeply with the planet. Love the interdependent web and your role in protecting it. This is going to look different for each of us. For some of you, this means you could plant and grow something at home. Check out a local seed library. Apparently Barrington has an amazing one. Learn what plants grow in this area. Or just take some time to dig your fingers into the soil when it thaws a little. Learn to identify the birds that live in this part of the country. Pay attention to weather patterns and their effects on the web around us. Remember, a rainy day holds a different meaning for a homeless person, a farmer, a daffodil, a fish, or a waterfall. Be mindful of what we use call the interdependent web of all existence.